I know a lot of people have the same theory of Breath of the Wild being on the adult timeline due to the old man and the Korok, and the size of Hyrule from the trailers and E3 demo, and of Nintendo playing at E3. But to me, there isn't that much of points that points to the adult timeline, but there's more that points to the child timeline. After watching my theory video of where it could be on the child timeline, I went back and looked over my notes and my video, and I saw a video few of my realistic Zelda fans shared with me. And it's now got me thinking it could be 2 possible timeline placements for it on the child timeline rather than the 1 that I thought of. Now, I still think Breath of the Wild is before Twilight Princess on the timeline, like I showed in my first ever theory video, but I now think from doing my research there's 2 possible placements. Now, I shall explain in a minute, but it's just I'm going to come across the key points as I'm going to go in depth with a collab video with a fellow YouTuber, who I shall mention at the end of this video. Right, the other possible placement I have come to realize it could be is after Twilight Princess, but before Four Swords, as partly due to the Twilight Princess HD remake on the Wii U, and a little detail they added that can be overlooked, and it's the carvings on the stone walls in Castletown in the Twilight Princess HD remake, and it seems to be telling the story of something that happened or something that is going to happen. Now, I think it could be telling like about a story for Breath of the Wild, or it could be about something that happened between Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess. But I'm not fully sure yet, as it's still early days yet. And also, my Nintendo said that those who play the Twilight Princess HD remake before Breath of the Wild have "oh, I see" moments when playing Breath of the Wild. And so that little bit of information caught my attention. And so I looked back at the demos, the preview trailers, the Let's Plays, and any game footage I could find of Breath of the Wild from last year's previews to this year's E3. And, well, Nintendo's sneaky. Even though they have the Koroks and the old man from, well, a lot of people theorizing leans to it being on the adult timeline, isn't that much that points to it when you look at the overall information given from last year's preview to this year at E3. Now, when you look back at key information, it points more to the child timeline, even with stuff that's not in-game footage. That being, when Nintendo mentioned about those who play the Twilight Princess HD remake before Breath of the Wild will have OIC moments when playing Breath of the Wild. And where they added the extra detail to Twilight Princess's HD remake, but not to Wind Waker's. And why they would specifically say those who play the Twilight Princess remake will have OIC moments if it wasn't on the child timeline. If it was on the adult timeline, Nintendo said the Wind Waker HD remake. This is one of the cryptic clues Nintendo's given of the timeline placement of it on the child timeline, I believe. And when you look at it, it's quite sneaky. And it's what's got me thinking there's 2 possible placements for it on the child timeline. And basically it could be either before Twilight Princess, like I said in my first theory video, or it could be after Twilight Princess, but before Four Swords. due to the cryptic information and the extra detail they put into the Twilight Princess HD remake that wasn't there before. So, it makes you wonder, is it more towards the child timeline like I think it could be? I think it might be, but it's still early days as Nintendo hasn't released too much information about Breath of the Wild. But there's some more information I think is linked to a bit on the child timeline. That being, why would you have landmarks from Twilight Princess, which is on the child era timeline, which has landmarks that are not on the adult timeline, where you have Wind Waker as the starting game of the adult timeline. Thus, I think leans more towards it being on the child timeline. When you take into account my key points put across in my first theory video, and also information I've rediscovered or found out more about. But sadly, my new notes I took down I don't have, as my dog decided to have herself some paper snow. But I kept my old notes, thankfully. But it does lean more towards the child timeline, even though you have Koroks and the old man and the size of Hyrule. Because if you think about it, Hyrule wasn't that big in Ocarina of Time. Twilight Princess comes out, it's double or triple the size. What's to say between or before Twilight Princess it was bigger than it was? It's like when you play Twilight Princess, you'll see places on the outskirts of the detailing that you can't explore at all due to them being boundary walls to prevent you. That's what's making me think it's more of the child timeline, either before Twilight Princess or after. And when I look back at play videos, I noticed that the Hyrule Castle they show is indeed the Hyrule Castle you see in Twilight Princess. More than any other castle, because I've checked using Google search images at the different Hyrule castles, and the architecture and design of the castle you see in Breath of the Wild matches perfectly with no other Hyrule castle than that in Twilight Princess, to the tiniest little detailing. So I think it's either before Twilight Princess or after it, before Four Swords came out, or before the Four Swords in the timeline. And I will go more in depth into this theory with, I am going to be doing a collab, like I said, where it will go a bit more in detail into the theory of it all. Even though you have Koroks and the old man, that's not enough, and the size of Hyrule, they're not enough alone with the image of the Master Sword to say it's on the adult timeline. To me, there's more cryptic information Nintendo's said verbally, and the Twilight Princess HD remakes little extra detailing, I think leans more for it to be on the child timeline, in either before Twilight Princess or after it. I'm not fully sure, as not a lot of information is being given out at the moment, but you never know. As when the game comes out next year, if it goes to plan, or Nintendo's plans, or the year after, it will be the best way to tell where exactly on the timeline it is. Now then, the collab video I am going to be taking part in is with Zenku Theories. Sorry if I said your name wrong, but the two of us will go a bit more in depth on this theory, as I really like their theory of where they believe Breath of the Wild is placed in the timeline. So I'll put a link down below in the description, so go and check out their channel too. So this is Husky Ninja signing off. So you can all go and check out their channel and their theories, and also help and support them as well.